you ever gotten to a beautiful location where you just had to take a picture because if you did not take a picture, it would just be wrong? So you take out your camera, you frame your shot, and you press down on that shutter speed to take that picture. And you go check how the picture came out, and it came out black. Or you reframe your shot, take another picture for the picture to come out white. Well, if that's the case for you, you have not met your three best friends: Aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. And in this series of videos, we will be talking about how to get the perfect exposure for your pictures. Let's get into it. So today's video is the first out of 3 videos for our series, how to get the perfect exposure. So before I start talking about Aperture, I just want to say that Aperture, ISO, and shutter speed all control how much light goes into your camera, therefore creating a perfect exposure, or an underexposed picture, or an overexposed picture. So in today's video, we will be talking about Aperture and how to get those blurry backgrounds and the depth of field in your pictures. So you're probably asking, what is Aperture? Aperture, in the most basic way I could put it, is literally the hole inside your lens that lets in more or less light into your camera. That's it. It's that simple. Since you know what Aperture is now, what does it do? So it does 2 main effects. If you have a wide aperture, you'll get a nice blurry, buttery background. If you have a small aperture, just like this one, you'll get a nice sharp image of no blur at all. Aperture is expressed in f-stop. So if I take this box for example, it's the 50mm and it says f1.8. So what does the f1.8 actually mean? The f1.8 is just saying that that's the widest the hole could get. So this is where it gets more confusing. The lower the f-stop is, the wider the hole gets, which gets more light into the camera, which creates more of a blurry background effect. So this is the complete opposite for the bigger numbers. So the bigger the number gets, the smaller the hole becomes, therefore less light goes into your camera, which creates a more sharper image. Okay, so for those who are still confused, I took out my camera and I took pictures of my dog on my bed at different f-stops. So you can see how the background becomes blurry and it goes to sharp when the f-stop is raised. So in this picture you can see the backgrounds are blurry and the subject is sharp. So this picture is taken at f2.8 and you can see the background is still blurry. So at f5.6 you can see that the background is starting to become a bit sharper. At f8 you can see that the subject is a bit sharper and the background is becoming sharper. At f16 you can see that basically the whole image is pretty sharp. So at the highest my f-stop could go, you could see that the whole image is sharp, the sharpest it could be. So I really hope that made it easier to understand what the f-stop does and what happens when you raise the f-stop and when you lower it. Also, sorry about the graininess in some of the pictures. That's because the ISO was way too high. But we will get into that later. So now you're wondering why you would want a blurry background. So a blurry background is really good to establish the depth of field of a picture between the object and the background. It could really make your subject pop out from the background and it could look really, really nice. This is what most portrait photographers like me use. So if the blurry background effect is used to make a subject pop out of the background or to establish depth of field, when would you use a higher f-stop to make images sharp? Well, for example, you could use a higher f-stop when you're taking pictures of landscapes. That's a perfect example because you don't want to have a blurry background when you're taking pictures of mountains or whatever. You want it to be all sharp. So this is a side note and this is more advanced, but it's good to know. So when you are doing long exposures of waterfalls or to capture the stars or to do whatever, you tend to use a high f-stop because it lets less light into your camera. Therefore, you could put your shutter speed at a longer time so it absorbs more light into the camera. So that's basically what higher f-stops are used for. So that is it for today, guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and you guys learned something from it. If you did, leave a like down below, even comment, and maybe subscribe if you want to. Besides, it's free and you could unsubscribe whenever you want. Anyways, we still have to go over shutter speed and ISO, and then you guys will know how to shoot manually like a pro. That sort of rhymes. Anyways, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.